Hello everyone and welcome to Chat UTD. Tomorrow I will do a preview of the FA Cup final, but there's a lot of stuff to get into this week regarding particularly the managerial position at United. This week's given rise to three new names that were not really on the list previously. Maybe De Zerbi was, but certainly Pochettino and McKenna were not really on the list until very recently. But let's try and cover it. I don't know if I can do it in order, but the first part of this week, Kieran McKenna was more heavily linked with United. Of course, De Zerbi left Brighton. McKenna's name was linked with Brighton, but reputable media outlets like The Guardian, Times said that Brighton might face competition from United. Then, was it Tuesday? I think Pochettino left Chelsea. And of course, that has led to rumours that maybe United might be interested in Pochettino. I think David Ornstein said last week, before Pochettino even left Chelsea, that if he became available and United sacked Ten Hag, so one of those things has now happened, United would be interested in him. He's got admirers within Ineos. And then Di Marzio, an Italian outlet, has said that Ten Hag will definitely leave United at the end of the season. Not the most accurate or trustworthy of sources, but the fact that he's gone balls out with it and categorically stated it has led to people saying, well, he's going to look a bit of an idiot if he's got that wrong now, because he's not just said it speculatively, he said it in terms of fact. So let's unpick all that. First of all, should Ten Hag lose his job? I stay true to what I've said over the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I think he should. The reasons that are given for him to stay, most of them are circumstantial. The only one that's got anything to do with his ability is the credit in the bank that he's got from last season. The other reasons for him to stay, let's go through them, are we've sacked managers in the past and it hasn't worked long term. The same players haven't been moved on that needed to have been moved on. The Glazers are the owners, and not only that, but they've protracted out a selling of the club. Still not really sold it, but that whole process completely sabotaged at least 2 transfer windows, maybe 3. There's been a lot of injuries, and there's not many standout people that could come in and do the job. I don't believe it's right to keep a manager based on circumstantial factors that are nothing to do with his ability. We finished 8th. It's the worst Premier League finish we've had. And it's as bad as it's been, I think, at United. So I wouldn't make someone into a hero based on the failings of the club in the past, which I feel like Ten Hag's getting the benefit of the doubt because of the failings of the club in the past. And it's almost like Ten Hag versus the club, and the fans are right behind him. Don't think he's the right person to get behind. There's certain managers that might have been in that position where I think I can see what they're doing, I can see what they're trying to achieve, I can see what they're moving towards. I don't see that with him, and I've not seen it in 2 years. But you can't argue with what he did in the first year because it was relatively successful. So for me, regardless of what happens on Sunday, I think the right decision would be to let him go. I also think Ineos need to have a person that they want, that is their man. They've got to ask themselves the question, if Ten Hag had managed Chelsea and Chelsea had finished 8th with all the same sort of season that we've just had, would they look at Ten Hag and say, he's one that we've got in mind? I don't think they would. In which case, this excuse that there's not many people around needs to be dropped. And as I've said before, they need to look further afield than what the bookies are saying, than what the media says, than what the fans say. We've always done that. With the Glazers, we've always appointed managers based on what the bookies, the fans, and the media have said. They're not the ones running the club. You are. So I would like Ineos to have some conviction in themselves. Look, have a vision, have a strong idea of exactly what they want, and then go and scour the world for a manager who fits that vision. I'd prefer the next United manager to be someone who makes his name at United. That shows that the club has got true conviction in themselves, and that isn't just a name. The next manager isn't going to be the one that wins the league. United won't win the league again for another potentially 10 years, but I certainly think 6 or 7 years. So the next manager is not going to last that long. The next manager has to manage phase one. And I've mentioned these phases before. Phase one is the settling down period, the solidity, steadying the ship, making sure that we have a very clear identity, clear way of playing, that we play that way, we learn how to play that way first of all, then we play that way for a sustainable period of time, and we start to see results as a result of that, where we finish in the top 4 season after season. We compete for trophies as well. That's phase one. We need a manager that's capable of doing that, and the players that come in are going to have to be capable of doing that. The players that we bring in the next year, 2 years, probably aren't going to be title winning players. We're probably not going to be in Europe. We're not going to attract certain level of players that we would have attracted before because of the lack of European football. So, and the lack of money we have. So we're going to have to be pretty creative in the transfer market, I think. And again, it just has to be good enough for phase one. So let's then look at this new kind of narrative around the manager, because it does seem to be that 3 more contenders seem to have been put into there, or 2 more in Pochettino and McKenna. Previously in the Manchester United managerial saga, we've had Southgate, Potter, Tuchel with a 3 favourites, and De Zerbi's name was in there as well, to be fair. This week we've now got De Zerbi leaving Brighton, as I mentioned before. McKenna's name starting to be thrown in there, and then Pochettino because he left Chelsea. De Zerbi, not for me. I think he's too similar to Ten Hag. I don't think he has done enough at Brighton to suggest he could be the manager to take United through that first phase. Did very well in his first season at Brighton, but took over a superb setup and just continued it. It's not easy to do that, so he's done very well. This season, just like very, very similar in many ways to United and to Ten Hag, struggled with injuries, hasn't handled Europe very well, suffered some really heavy defeats and not seemed to know what to do with them, seems to be committing the same sort of errors in judgment over and over again, seems quite stubborn. It doesn't fill me with confidence. Which leads me to the other 2. And I've got 2 completely different schools of thought on Kieran McKenna and Pochettino, and I wouldn't rule either of them out. McKenna, for me, is a project manager. He's a manager you bring in that shows incredible conviction and conviction in what you believe as Ineos. That you say, don't care that he's not been in the Premier League yet, don't care that he hasn't got quite the experience maybe we would have ideally wanted, but he ticks all our boxes. He can probably play the style of play we want. He is a good person to grow with the club as we go through phase one, and he will make his name at United. He's got some United in him because of his history. He supported them as a kid, which I liked, stuff like that. But has also, of course, been outstanding at Ipswich. Incredible what he's done there. But he'd be brave to do that. But I'd have a lot of respect for Ineos if they had the balls to go and do that. And I'd think, yeah, I can see what you're doing there. And I'd be more than behind that. Pochettino's the complete opposite in that he's been around the block. He isn't going to make his name particularly at United if he came in. But for me, I have a real affinity with Pochettino, and I always have had. I really wanted him to be United's manager when Mourinho got sacked. I thought he should have been the permanent manager without question. At that time, I thought the way he was managing Tottenham, just his presence, his personality, the style of play that Tottenham had, the fact that he got them to a Champions League final, they finished top 4 consistently under him. They never did that before or after. There's just something about him that I think would marry very well with United at that time. But as I said in my overview of Thiago Motta, there was a time and place we needed to get Pochettino and we didn't do it. Now feels a bit like it's opportunistic because he's come out of a job at Chelsea and we might well need a manager. I think it's 4 years too late. I'm not sure he's the same manager that he was, but I still really like him. And if he became our manager, I would be completely behind it because it's Pochettino. Because I've always had that hankering. I've always thought, I wonder what it would be like if he was our manager. I just think there's something there that would marry together nicely. Like I said, let's look at his recent credentials. I think he's gone into Chelsea, who are a complete basket case club with, God, a ridiculous squad of mishmash of players, a huge squad that's been thrown together with absolutely shitloads of money but very little thought, and then they got rid of loads of players to Saudi Arabia in the summer. And at Christmas, and even after Christmas, I think probably up until about February or March, they were mid-table. But his end to the season indicates that he has had a very strong impact and a very strong influence on them, because that means that he's obviously taken a little bit of time, but then he's got his messages across, and the fact that they finished the season so strongly reflects really well on him. He's been able to exert change on a group of players. That's something Ten Hag couldn't do this season. Chelsea have got stronger as the season's gone on. The influence of the manager, of course, has been there for longer as the season's gone on. Those two things for me interconnect. And he's going to be coming into a job at United if he came in, where we're in phase one. Like I said, we need probably a season not dissimilar to what Chelsea have just had. We're probably not going to be in Europe next season like Chelsea weren't. We could do with establishing ourselves. There could be a lot of movement with the squad. There might not be. I don't know. But we need to establish a way of playing. We need to move towards something. We need to get a little bit of an identity, and that might take some time next season. And then, of course, we want some results on the pitch. If United finish 6th or 5th next season, had a couple of decent cup runs, I don't think anyone's going to be complaining because of where we've come from. Unless we go out and do something stupid in the transfer window, stupidly good, which we won't. And so yeah, he kind of fits that. It wouldn't be ridiculous to say that he couldn't come in and do a job. Is he going to win the league with United? No, I don't think he will. But I don't think Kieran McKenna would win the league with United. I don't think Zinedine Zidane would win the league with Man United. I don't think Thomas Tuchel would win the league with Man United. Gareth Southgate certainly wouldn't, and Graham Potter wouldn't, and De Zerbi's got no chance. So that's not the criteria for success here. We need to get away from that. We're in phase one. We are not close to being a competent football club, let alone a title-winning football club. It's not happening. So we're going to be competing in 2 or 3 years. We're not competing in 2 or 3 years. We're not competing for titles in 2 or 3 years. No chance. We need to be established, have an attractive style of play, have a style of play and ethos that supersedes any manager. We need a core group of players, preferably younger players, who look hungry and grateful to play for Manchester United and that we can be proud of. We need the stadium sorting out, and we need to finish in the top 3 or 4 consistently within the next 5 years, I'd say. And I think that's doable. Winning titles ain't doable in that time. So a manager needs to come in and do what I just said then. Not win titles. If we can, fantastic. But that person doesn't exist. So in summary, I'd take Pochettino. I'd be excited about it because of the way I personally feel about him as a Manchester United manager. And I know that's partly anchored in the past, should I say. I'd take McKenna because I think it shows huge conviction on Ineos's part, and I like the ballsiness of it. And if it fails, it fails. But I'll look at the other options. Southgate. If Southgate was United's manager, I'd get behind him because there's something about Southgate as being a bit of an underdog, and I think he gets a really unfair rep, which I've done a video on before, but I wouldn't think it'd work. Potter, I should caveat what I'm going to say about Graham Potter. Graham Potter deserves huge respect as a manager. He's been a fantastic manager. If you look at his background and where he's come from, he has really earned his way to the positions that he's had. Fantastic story if you ever get a chance to look at it. But regardless of how we pitch the manager's role at United, he's just not a United manager. He's not a head coach of Manchester United. He's not a project manager. He's not a phase one manager. He's none of those things. He's not got it, in my opinion. I would be gutted if he was our manager, with no disrespect intended to him at all. Thomas Tuchel is a boring Glazers appointment. It goes against everything Ineos are saying they want to try and do. So it would make me disbelieve Ineos in terms of what they are saying they are trying to achieve. De Zerbi, I've already mentioned, so it leaves us with McKenna and Poch for me, and either of those two I could get on board with. If the manager goes, and I don't know if he will go. I don't know if the article we've seen this week is right. I'm not sure. Just to finish, we've been talking about managers. This weekend, with obviously City winning 4 in a row, has kind of given rise to some conversations about the Guardiola versus Ferguson. Now, obviously, I'm very biased, but it's not even a debate. It's not close. Pep Guardiola has never, ever gone through any adverse circumstances in his managerial career, ever. He's had everything he's wanted on a plate wherever he's been. He's gone into a club that won the Premier League a year or 2 years before he'd got there. They won it under Mancini, they won it under Pellegrini, and he went in there. The whole club was based on him. All his cronies were already there. Everything was set up for him to succeed, and he's had limitless amounts of money, which they've spent very well, but he's had limitless amounts of money. Ferguson came to a club that hadn't won the league for nearly 20 years, was an institutionalised failure, really. We were a cup team. There was a drinking culture at the club. There was quite a poor culture at the club. The youth system was non-existent, pretty much. It certainly wasn't good enough. It was producing 1 or 2 every now and again. Whiteside and Hughes were the ones that we produced around that era before Ferguson got there. But really, it wasn't the stream that we needed. He went in and sorted all that out himself. He had massive adversity when he first came to the club. He was very close to being sacked. He was working with relatively average players, but got the best out of them. And he slowly, organically grew a football club. In 1995, he let go of Paul Ince, Andrei Kanchelskis and Mark Hughes and didn't buy anyone. And had the conviction and the strength of conviction in his beliefs to put a load of kids into the team the following season, and didn't take it as a transition season, won the double. And 3 years later, won the treble with them. From 1994 until 1996, we bought David May. That was it. From the summer of 1994 until the summer of 1996, so 2 whole years, we bought David May. And he got rid of Kanchelskis, Ince and Hughes. And completely rebuilt a team. For the last 8 years of Ferguson's tenure at United, he had the Glazers as the owners. We sold Cristiano Ronaldo and bought Gabriel Oberton and Antonio Valencia and Michael Owen on a free. The only time he ever indulged in what you'd say is like almost a guilty pleasure purchase was Van Persie in his last season. We spent money, but he balanced the books. And some of those teams that he got titles out of in those last few seasons were not good. So you can stick Guardiola up your arse. Ferguson is the greatest manager of all time. And it's not a conversation. It's not a debate. It's just the truth. Glazers out.